What does it say that Mark Hamill's the only one from the original trilogy reprise? Oh, that's not true. Also, Billy D. Williams.
You couldn't exactly have Carrie Fisher.
Why not?
Because she's dead, and Harrison Ford wishes Star Wars was dead.
I thought you were going to say wishes he was dead.
I thought about it, but I don't think so.
Star Wars, Transformers, Godzilla, animation, whatever else. Rebels, robots, and etc.
Well, it's Wednesday night, and Cameron and Rachel are hanging out yet again, which must mean that it's Starformers Zillimation night. Welcome to Rebels and Robots and etc. Episode 65. I'm Cameron.
I'm Rachel.
And this is our bi-weekly chat about Star Wars and
Transformers.
And whatever else we both like to talk about. Today is a partially, all animation episode, because both things we're talking about is animated, but one of them is, we're watching it not because it's animated, because it's Star Wars. Thank you for your input. Athena, they're rarely heard from unless we squeeze her. She volunteered that little nugget of information.
Squish that cat.
If you speak cat, feel free to message in and let us know what she said.
She says you stink.
I believe it. I believe that's what she said, I mean. So we talking Wild Robot, the latest DreamWorks animated film, one that we discussed. The original trailer released earlier in the year. It finally came out, so this is the earliest we could have talked about it. And then also the Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Universe, which was a 4-part mini series that was released on Disney Plus last month. And before we get to that, though, as always, we have news and recent thoughts. Pretty light on this stuff, but a news update from last episode's topic, Transformers 1. Rachel, what do you have for us?
It's not doing super hot at the box office. So it was made with about 75 million, and I believe that's correct. Yeah, 75 million. Actually, 3 million less than Wild Robot. As of the 7th, it's made just barely under 100 million.
Yeah, I saw a Facebook post from a Transformers fan account that was like, "It's past its budget, hooray!"
Was it TF1 hype guy?
I could not tell you the name of the account, but it's like you clearly don't know how Hollywood budgets work with how profitability works, because just the goal is not to make back the budget. The goal is to turn a multiplier profit, and two, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, that's kind of two things. One, even if the first most important thing is you have to include marketing. Marketing is typically the same amount as the production budget. So the typical number is a movie needs to make back twice its production budget just to go even.
Yeah, something tells me it didn't spend too much in the marketing department.
My guess would be they spent marketing in ways that you and I did not see. They probably really focused on marketing to a younger audience.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
they marketed it to a really young audience, so you have older people who probably would enjoy it who are like, well, I'm not going to go see it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Allegedly, they're going to put it on streaming on the 22nd.
Yeah, that's actually, well, that's only a month, isn't it? What day did it come out? Do you remember?
26th.
Yeah, it is less than a month. Yeah, that's not great.
Which is not great because it's like, ooh, we're even going to get a sequel?
Yeah, I guess maybe if it does really well on streaming.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, it's sad. I would have liked to have seen a sequel, but at least the movie stands up on its own. It works well as a single film.
I think the worst thing is that I've seen people on TikTok that are like, well, that was terrible. Let's bring back Michael Bay. And I'm like, huh? What?
Garbage take.
Actually,
Huge
garbage
L.
take.
What I was saying about, unfortunately, my big point in me talking about how these things work is, if the budget's 75 million, normal numbers, it would have to make 150 just to break even, probably like 300 million just to be considered a success.
I know. It's a success in my heart.
main benefit it might have is if the toys sell really well. But I think ultimately, they're probably just going to be happy what the audience they were shooting for with the marketing and the general tone of this film. It probably just pushes them back, and then releasing it really quickly on Paramount Plus. They'll probably
I didn't think about it going on Paramount Plus.
Well, I would assume because it's a Paramount movie.
I know, I didn't think about that.
My guess, any success this film has will probably just push to either them continuing whatever the current animated show is, which I'm totally blanking on the name. Earthspark.
I think.
Because they look pretty similar, like visually, I would say.
No.
Obviously, it's a different budget.
No. This just in. Cameron says all 3D animated projects look the same.
No, absolutely not. Do not put those words
similar.
in my mouth, devil woman.
They're not similar.
I did not say that all. They have similar smooth faces.
That's also just the style right now, but they're not. They're not similar at all. Outside of medium.
That's a ridiculous thing to say. Not similar at all.
Entirely different styles.
No, they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They are both 3D animated, similar coloring, shading, texturing.
I would expect everyone to understand art, but
when you've got things out there that, I mean, look, the Wild Robot, for example, I would say is mostly differently animated than Transformers 1. But
I would not say Transformers 1 and Earthspark are the same outside of Happy Transformers. They're very different style.
I guess we have to agree to disagree because say very different is insane. But regardless, I think they would rather funnel money into that show, probably.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, or a new show rather than a sequel to a movie that did not do well. I think they would probably see that as more of a financial investment than another movie.
Unfortunately, I just feel like it's when corporations go, oh, see, the animated film didn't do well.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
no one likes animated films. It's like, that's not true.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there are some things that are perceived as only being desirable on streaming. And, the romantic comedy is another one. Animated things are very much, and then they turn around, they don't want to put the money into making really good stuff on streaming. So you get very generic looking 3D that looks, everything for the most part looks like those stupid, horrible, was it Uber Eats or something like that? Or
is it,
something like that.
we can't say it, or I don't know if this is a regional specific chain.
Oh, is it? I would say just say it. No, that, yeah, I can see why you're saying that, but it was
You should bleep that out just for funny moments.
Athena, note that down.
She's right there.
Oh, she's in her little tube thing and she blends in. You should paint blue lines on her so you would blend in even better.
I'm not going to do that.
Gotta write down the time.
Was it
code.
Grubhub?
Grubhub, that was it. It just technically well done animation, but the sum of its parts was much less than it should have been. I totally screwed up that euphemism, but the final product was much less than the sum of its parts in that it felt off and weird. It was just my ring knocking the table. Everything feels too smooth, too shiny. I mean, Netflix has become the master of this.
You mentioned Hasbro was like, "We'll just make it up in toy purchases." I mean, they got me.
Fair. Well, did you have any other notes on that? It's sad.
No, but you're not going to address our guests at the table.
Well, I was going to go on to I have got 2 news items. You can do that after my next one. Mine is also movie related. So this is going to seem very tangentially related, or not even at all related to our podcast. But if you give it a second, I'll explain why this is related. So for some context, DC Comics is in the midst of a total overhaul of their film department, I guess. And so we're getting a lot of new stuff out of them. And a really surprising announcement we got is an animated film of, I think it's 2 different Robins. I don't. The specifics aren't super important.
Yeah. Which Robin?
I don't. It's probably Grayson and Dick Grayson and the third one whose name I don't know.
Oh,
you have to look it up.
Tim?
Probably Tim Drake, right? Tim Drake is the third Robin. It's probably Tim Drake or Damian Wayne. Because
psychopath. I love Damian.
Yeah. But that's the actual topic. The actual that's not why I'm bringing this up. Why I am bringing it up is it's an animated film that's been announced to have a mix of animation, puppetry, and CGI, and supposedly motion capture as well, and stop motion, which sounds suspiciously similar to my Transformers pitch. Interesting.
I thought Spider-Verse.
I mean, yeah. It just I just thought it was really cool, honestly, that within a week of me making that pitch to have a mixed media franchise film, one got announced.
See, what's interesting is we had a friend of ours go see Transformers 1. And when we went to lunch on Sunday, he asked me, he's like, he picked up on, because he listened to a couple of episodes, he picked up on my pitch being near identical to Transformers 1.
Yeah.
Which was nice.
Shout out to Bryson.
So someone listened.
Yes. Thank you, Bryson, for listening. And he actually does remind me, in a second I'll bring up a question he had. But yeah, it's just to finalize that thought, just we're not going to probably not going to get a Transformers movie that relates to my pitch, but we are going to get an animated movie that's kind of tangentially related. So we might cover that in the pod when it comes out. It's probably like 5 years away, but excited for it.
I'm down to covering Batman stuff on the podcast. I did watch all of the animated movies last summer or 2 summers ago.
I'm sure that's a slog.
Most were actually okay, and then some were.
So speaking of Bryson, he mentioned it's one of the very few times I've had someone that I did not know listens to our podcast ever bring up an episode to me. I did not realize he really was even aware of it. But he had a question about, I should have written it down. Dang it. I'm sorry, Bryson. Bryson, if you are listening and you remember the question you asked me about Transformers 1, let me know. Though a funny note, him and his girlfriend, who's a very good friend of mine, as well, and Allison. This is a weird thing when most of the people who listen to this podcast are people we know very well, and we're not really aware of anyone we don't know listening to it, but they might.
Except for our one person who's at whatever VPN they're using.
Yeah, and I have a note about that in a second. But regardless, they told me we went and saw Transformers. No, they told me we watched Transformers. And for some reason, my brain, they may have said Transformers 1, and I just totally interpreted it either way as the first Michael Bay movie. Because they did not say they went to a theater.
That's what it's called. It's called Transformers. It's not the Transformers.
Yeah. But I started talking to them about the first Michael Bay movie, but I wasn't talking plot. I was just talking about my opinion about it. And then they started talking about the theater, and I still thought that they went and saw the first Michael Bay one at the theater, because sometimes they show... I just totally forgot Transformers 1 existed, and then eventually it clicked with me, and I felt super dumb. So that was a funny moment. He asked me... Oh, he didn't ask me a question. He commented on... the faces, how much he didn't like the faces of the animation, which we always ask for people to send in their opinions. So Bryson, thank you for giving me an IRL opinion. We very much agree the faces are one of the more lacking elements of the new one. At least I keep thinking of Optimus himself, in their mouths. I think that's just specifically what really upset Bryson, was how fleshy the mouths are. Go ahead and share what's on the table with us today.
On to Cameron's least favorite part about the podcast is when I talk about the things I buy.
No, my least favorite part is talking about award news.
I finally reaped what I sowed.
No, these are actually very cool, though. Actually, I'm really glad you were showing these to me.
In the past
these are
6
fun
months,
to look at.
when you place a couple pre-orders and then they all ship within the same 7 days. And so they're all from the Star Wars Ahsoka show. They are the re-released Balin Skull and Shin Hati. Balin Skull's mercenary look from when we first see him, which just means he comes with cloth goods. And also Shin, who also comes with cloth goods. They had been released before, but I just didn't pick them up because they released kind of around the time that the actor for Balin died, and that man's been sold out since.
Is his lightsaber longer than a normal lightsaber? Because it's definitely longer than Shin's.
I think so.
I did not pick up on that in the actual show itself. That's
so
interesting.
his height in the figure isn't exactly accurate. He's shorter. I've seen people do customs with other figures.
He's not much taller than Shin.
No, but so I got those, which are pretty cool. I didn't pick up the first two because, like I said, they were super, like, Balin's original figure has been sold out for a while. Yeah. And when I heard they were going to re-release it with the cloth goods, I was like, I'll just buy that one. So. Yeah,
I feel like the fabric creation, fabrication, for lack of a better word, has dramatically improved. Have you ever seen what, like, toys in, like, the 80s looked like when they had, like, cloaks? They were, like, twice as big as the toy itself, and they looked so silly. And this looks really good. Like, this is a good look. Like, these actually feel like they're not. It's the puffiness of the old ones. They were super puffy, and these actually feel like proportionally correct to the characters.
So a lot of the Black Series, especially mid 2000s, they started doing 3D scans of the actual actors.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because if you start looking at some of the original Black Series figures when the lines first started, they are rough looking. So most of these have been like 3D scanned of some form, and then of course shrunk down to like 1/100th of the actual size of someone. So yeah, I was pretty excited. So everyone in the Black Series group on Facebook was getting. So the other one that Cameron's holding is the Ahsoka 2-pack with Captain Enoch and a Night Trooper, which is the one I was probably the most excited for. Enoch is the gold-faced trooper. Yes, they will be living in the boxes. I don't care.
The only thing that would have elevated this quite a bit more is, we were just talking about the fabric on them, is if the Stormtrooper with the red, they have the red fabric wrapped around, if that was actually fabric, that'd be pretty neat.
True.
Regardless, it looks incredible.
I think for articulation, it probably could have proved difficult.
That's true.
But so that was exciting. But everyone was getting their Enoch, their 2-pack, and Balin at the same time. So Balin and Enoch and the Night Trooper were Walmart exclusives.
I see.
Shin is a Target exclusive.
Oh, interesting.
They get to choose which ones are exclusives. I don't know why. But I got nervous because everyone was getting their 2-pack and Balin on the same day. And when I checked, only the Balin had been delayed specifically. And so I was nervous. So I went to customer service, like online and Walmart, and the guy helping me, he was very nice, but he was like, well, my recommendation are cancel as soon as possible and get a refund because it's probably lost. And I was like, can I wait? And he's like, well, you can, but I'd recommend doing it as soon as possible. I was like, okay. I waited 2 days and then I got the tracking number. My guess was they fulfilled a bunch of orders with the first shipment and mine just got backlogged. But I was kind of like, well, now I'm glad I didn't cancel because that would have sucked. And then I saw in the Black Series collectors group, they said, I ordered one Balin and they accidentally got shipped like a shipment box, like of the goods box, like so the big box and the mini box with multiple figures. They accidentally sent this dude 5. So I commented and I said, so you're the I joked. I was like, you're the reason why my figure got delayed because stole mine. But yeah, so that's exciting. They're also in the new square packaging, which I don't love. I just think it's very different compared to like the angled one, but they kept the murals on the side, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
The murals are some of my favorite part, and that's why I keep them in the boxes. Just like Toy Story 2.
Well, thanks for the update. Those are fun. It is cool.
Hold up. This man's got a pimp ring.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Look at that.
I don't fully know what that means, but I would like to. Oh, it's a
That
big old ring
giant
on his pointer finger.
Gemstone ring.
Yeah. Huh. I'm sure there's a story there.
Imagine backhanding someone with that thing. You'd knock him out.
Also, is that a kyber crystal on his belt? Do we know anything about that? He's got a belt with like a green crystally looking thing.
That does kind of look like a kyber crystal.
Could that have been like his Jedi kyber crystal?
Well, I don't know. He's got a red blade, so if that says Jedi crystal, he would have had to either pick up another blade or bleed another crystal.
Well, I thought it was orange. I thought that was the whole
Are they
thing,
orange?
that they were orange and not red.
Maybe that's right. Oh, because I think the original figures got released with red blades before the orange change, so
see.
they're a little more high value. Unfortunately, our city has actual trash luck with getting any good figures. So
my other bit of news is an analytics update. And unfortunately, I cannot. They've totally changed the analytics page on RSS since the last time that I checked it. So I can't go back and reconfirm that this is still true. But last time, we had the big joke about Ireland being inexplicably our number one country
Ireland.
after the U.S. Which, yeah, spoiler, we are in the United States, in case that was not very clear. But we have a new number 2. It's China. So shout out to all of our seemingly Chinese listeners. Welcome. We're glad that you're here. A new interesting update, though. And what's really annoying is right now, as far as I can tell, I can only look back 180 days in the analytics, which really sucks. But according to this, only 41.86% of our downloads are invalid or bot downloads. So I would have thought it was much higher than that. So that's not too bad. So that's just a fun little analytics update. On to you want to talk about Rebuild the Universe? Dang it, Rebuild the Galaxy. I said I would get it.
sure.
So, as we said earlier, Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy is a 4-part, pretty short animated miniseries that Disney Plus released last month. I'm trying to bring up the IMDb for it. It is. They don't have a writer or director credit for the whole series right here. I'm trying to figure out who made this thing. It is series directed by Chris Buckley, who worked on the animation department for Last Jedi, as well as the Lego Movie 2 and Jurassic World. So
What a range.
It really makes sense that he would go on to direct something like this. And he also worked on Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen and Pacific Rim. What a dude. I like this guy.
Unfortunately, one of the worst of the Bay films.
He also, he also worked on Lego Jurassic World, which I believe is a Netflix thing, which I've never seen. And anything else interesting in here? He's been around for a while. He worked on the 50 Cent video game, which the rapper 50 Cent, weird thing that exists. He's been working he worked on Beast Wars. Dude, this guy's crazy. I like him. Chris Buckley. So he directed this series.
We should salute him for slogging through Beast Wars.
The series is written by Dan Hernandez, who worked on a movie that I cited last episode that I liked a lot. He helped write the Ninja Turtles animated film that came out last year, as well as Detective Pikachu.
Hey, that's a good one.
I would not say the screenplay is the strength, but I do think that movie's a lot of fun for someone who doesn't like or know much about Pokemon.
L.
And it looks like their writing credit, the other writing duo, Benji Samit is the other credited writer. And so generally, broadly, the show, this Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, follows Sig Griebling and his older brother Dev, They're both
Nerf herders.
nerf herders. Thank you. On a small backwater planet, and then
That's
Sig,
not a desert planet, surprisingly.
yeah, it's kind of just like more like a Great Plains, like Nebraska planet. Sig,
Average planes.
exactly. Nice. Sig turns out he's got force powers. They find and it takes place sometime after episode 9.
Oh, yeah.
And Sig knows everything about Star Wars, effectively. He knows all the great stories, and he loves telling other people. And it starts with this really fun, like, rotating mural, where he's pretty much recapping the events of the Skywalker saga as a narrator, and we're seeing it as if it were, like, Lego murals. Like, they're not just, like, animated, quote. They're like, they have, like, backdrops, like someone was making them with actual Lego toys. It's a lot of fun. It's a great opening. And they stumble upon a Jedi temple. He pulls out this really shiny piece, collapses the whole temple. He comes out, and everything is different. And this is kind of the basis of the whole thing. Is pretty much most characters are kind of like their mirror version of themselves. His brother is now a Sith. Rey is Dark Rey. The Jedi are most of the Sith. They call them Sith still. Yeah, they're Sith. Mm-hmm. It's in this alternate universe. It's very Lego based. It's Sith destroyers and Lego and Force Jedi builders. There was a contrast of it was like Lego Force builders and
that's right.
It was playing on the Lego thing of Jedi who can use the Force to build things because it's all Lego, and the Sith destroy things. And so his brother is the leader of all this, along with Dark Rey, and then the Jedi are all characters who were normally either Sith or villains. Palpatine and Vader with a white outfit, and Jabba the Hutt, and do I have any other of these written down? We'll come back around to
Cad Bane.
Yes. So the whole idea of it is things have flip-flop. Everything's weird. He's the only one who remembers the other galaxy. Him and one other person. He's a very generic-looking, actual yellow. All these characters have flesh tone colors, except for one guy, Jedi Bob, who is a actual Lego piece that the fandom, I think, named him that. He was just a generic Lego in the prequel era, and people called him Jedi Bob, and the name stuck. And he is from a previous galaxy that allowed the same thing to happen. He had been sworn to protect this small, shiny stud that upheld the whole galaxy. Exactly, yeah. And it destroyed his universe, so pretty much
Which wasn't really on the corner
of
the building. It was actually more the bottom of a load-bearing wall.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so the narrative in this thing is that the mainline Star Wars universe is actually a reassembled version of an even different universe that Lego Bob comes from. And we briefly see it, and they're all yellow-skinned Legos. And so now they need to get this. There's a name for it. Pretty much the what is the term? MacGuffin of this whole thing is this shiny Lego brick. It's like it's not the Allspark, but it might as well be. That they get it back in hopes of rebuilding the previous universe. And along the way, you see all sorts of fun, mixed up things. The enemies, the bad guys, they use clone troopers, but they all are clones of Admiral Akbar. They have X-Wing TIE fighters, and inversely, you have TIE wing fighters, I guess. Like, you pretty much have the enemies use what is a TIE fighter body with X-Wings on it. Mm-hmm. And then the rebels use what is a X-Wing body with TIE wings on it. Do you have a major note you want to start off with on this?
I just thought it was fine. It was fun.
Yeah, I thought it was very fun as well.
Actually, probably my top was my favorite cameo.
Which was?
Michael Cusack as the Gonk droid.
Michael Cusack. Oh, right. Explain that. Yes, and now I know what you're
He's
talking about.
one of the like creators, co-creators, animator, or whatever, director, writer, producer of Smiling Friends.
Yeah, if you've ever seen clips of this show, obviously you've seen the show, but there's a lot of clips on social media.
Man.
Very distinct, high-pitched, excited British voice.
So that was a wild surprise, just because the range of Smiling Friends to a Disney Lego animated Star Wars special is kind of a jump.
Yeah.
Which then resulted in me making Cameron and Allison watch an episode of Smiling Friends afterward.
Oof, it was somehow weirder than I expected. It was not, okay, I don't know if it was weirder total than I expected. It was weirder in different ways than I expected. I don't think I could have anticipated, especially any Adult Swim thing.
You're like, oh, it's just an Adult Swim. It's just going to be weird. And it's like,
there's no such thing as just an Adult Swim show normally. I've seen enough to know what to expect. It just do you know what? It was very similar to original Transformers. It was the chaotic energy. I just did
It's
not
just
expect
chaos.
the pace of it. Is so fast paced.
The whole episode feels ad-libbed. Like every single episode just feels...
It moves so fast.
It's so funny.
It's wild.
It was a very good time. I think if we ever run out of things to do, we should just watch Smiling Friends.
Oh no. There is a lot of fun little things like that. The voice cast is a lot of fun. The main character is, I'm gonna butcher this, Gaten. This sounds like a Star Wars character. Gaten Matarazzo. Thank you. Who is the very cute guy, one of the main guys from Stranger Things. I don't know Stranger Things enough to know any of the character names. He's Dustin. And the older brother is Tony Revioli. I always screw up his last name. These Italian last names? They sound Italian. Revolori. He is the main character in one of my favorite movies, Grand Budapest Hotel. He's in other assorted Wes Anderson films. He's Flash Thompson in the newer Spider-Man
the bully
movies.
From the new Spider-Man movies.
And I feel like he did.
I didn't know he had something outside of the Spider-Man movies.
He, relevant to this podcast, he is one of the parakeet voices in The Boy and the Heron, which is a lot of fun. Generally just a very likable actor.
He's got a wider, I guess, movie history than I thought he would.
Yeah, he was in some stuff pre Grand Budapest, but he was the main character in that, and he never really quite rose to those same heights again, unfortunately, at least not yet. I hope he finds something. Being in all three of the new Spider-Man movies is a great gig, and continuing to have small parts in Wes Anderson films, all great. Maybe he's got a new career as a voice actor. I don't know. But who else is in this? We've got Bobby Moynihan, who's most popular for being in SNL, is the voice of Jedi Bob. A phenomenal voice performance. I thought it was very funny as that. You get Dee Bradley in there. Mark Hamill back as Luke Skywalker. You got Sam Witwer back as Maul. Ahmed Beth as Darth Jar Jar. Kelly Marie Tran as Rose. Phil LaMarr back as Kit Fisto, he did that voice for previous animated Star Wars stuff. So just generally strong cast. One of my favorite parts here, let me see. I think just the quantity of things. It just kept popping jokes. I think there's some fun little commentary from the main character in the opening narration. There's a quick, whenever we come to the new universe, there's a quick montage of how things are different. My favorite thing is probably that, you have the classic line on Crate where the rebel licks it and goes, salt. And this new, it's pepper.
That was good.
It's a fun little joke. I like that. I think this is a really fun concept for something that's built around Legos. What's fun about Legos is combining your Lego sets.
I feel like it's kind of like, I've seen a lot of people who ask for a Star Wars what if.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm like, I think, not to talk about Marvel, but I think part of Marvel's downfall might have been pulling in the multiverse.
I think they did too much with it.
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean. Like
too much
They did
multiverse.
too much of it instead of it being like a one-time thing.
Yeah.
It is now the whole thing. It's
Yeah.
just Marvel in the multiverse. Marvel in the multiverse of bad movies. But
Yikes.
sorry.
But I think.
But
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I feel like that because I've seen a lot of people like, oh, I want a Star Wars what if? I want a Star Wars what if? I think I don't know. A Star Wars what if, I don't think we need one, but if we get one, I think having it in the realm of Lego works well.
Yeah, I can totally see why you would not want it. I would still love to see it. A couple different reasons. One, I just always up for more Star Wars, especially things explore any like what we have instead of Star Wars What If. And if you don't know, Marvel What If is an animated
Is fan
series. Yeah, effectively, yeah. But there are some really good ideas in there, though I dropped off on season 2. It definitely needs to be executed well. It's not going to be inherently good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love What If. But what we have for Star Wars instead is, I would say, Visions, and which I would gladly take Visions over a What If, because Visions is less a what if narrative, and it's a what if stylistically.
It's just fun.
Yeah, absolutely. You just let
There's
people
not-
have full creative control.
There's not really
seemingly.
expectations. Because honestly, no one's probably going to be happy with a what if. Like, that's not the what if I wanted. I'm like, okay.
Sure, fair. But Star Wars fans are not going to be happy no matter what. So
Sorry, your what
I'm
if was watching Anakin viscerally rip apart children. And the only what if is that they didn't cut away. Like,
And the other thing that we have instead of What If is the Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire, which is just giving us filling in gaps. So that's why I don't think we will get a What If, because they are doing other animated adjacent things for Star Wars. But this that's probably hit a lot of the things you'd want to see in a What If anyways. Light side Vader, light side Palpatine. I mean, just pretty much almost any character you can think of, just light side or dark side versions of that. Dark side Rey.
it is weird to me that it's old Luke. Like, it's an old beach bum Luke Skywalker who may or may not be the same age as Darth Vader.
Yeah,
and a young Leia.
The timeline is very confusing for
weird.
this, because you have Vader and Anakin and Rey, and all of their ages are very indiscernible, and Palpatine, but that's a whole other thing. You pretty much have characters from every point in time living at the same time, and don't seem to be super old or super young or whatever. But what I would say is why I would still like to see a what if, what it could theoretically do that this can't do, is this is all comedy. Mm-hmm. There are what if elements that would be really interesting done seriously, but you still get the joy of seeing it nonetheless. Another thing that I like a lot about this is, okay, so the Lego movie will probably go down for me as one of the great movies, period. Like, I'll just, like, you can definitely say it's a great animated movie, but I think it's a great, incredible film. But if we're talking about animation, the way the Lego movie established we're going to make these look like Legos. They are not just animated characters who are Lego characters. We're going to do everything we can to make these actually resemble stop motion and Legos, down to we're going to do the texturing. And any Lego animated thing that doesn't do that now feels super weird. And they have tried, even with Lego Star Wars stuff, and it just feels so much lazier. And I understand budgetary constraints, stylistic choices. I understand. But for me, that is the perfect approach to this. And this one does do that. I didn't even notice it. Allison pointed out, you have fingerprint smudges on certain like bricks and characters. Like, they are
you have the mold lines.
Exactly. They looks like the toys. The fact that Disney would spend the money, because that is expensive. That is a lot of money to go. That is so many additional layers of animation. I just really appreciated that. Do you have any other notes? I can just list off some of the other fun little details.
I really don't have much about this. I thought it was fine.
You got some bounty hunters show up. You got Ewok bounty hunters, and C-3PO is a bounty hunter. You mentioned Beach Bum Luke, which is pretty much Luke never left Tatooine.
But Tatooine also has water.
Oh, yeah. You've got... So they're in the cantina, and with everything being flipped, you have the classic two guys who try to pick a fight with Luke. He doesn't like you. I don't like you either. When this scene goes, he likes you. I like you either. That's a fun little joke. Other guys included in the Sith. We said Rey. You also got Rose in there for some reason. Kit Fisto, Darth Jar Jar, Darth Jawa, which is incredible.
Nubs.
And the funniest one is a name I would not have known, Nubs, little blue bear guy from the currently running Young Jedi Adventures, which is the Disney Junior version of Star Wars that it currently exists. Great incorporation there, and also has Sith eyes, which is hilarious.
Horrified.
I liked that Luke's spaceship that they have in this is just his land speeder with a glass covering over it. It's not a spaceship at all. It's just a flying, which is very I would do that. Whatever toys you had became spaceship. I had a toy of Luke's speeder that instantly could fly. It didn't matter that it couldn't fly in the movie.
But Cameron established Star Wars lore.
You've got... What else? Any other interesting notes? I'm trying to remember. Just generally, just the...
it was kind of a cliffhanger, so it seems they might be moving.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess the big caveat, and I can't remember if you said this, is that Sig, that's his name, right? Yeah, yes. Sig, his goal is to get back to his universe, but with removing the cornerstone Lego piece, it essentially destroyed his old universe, which is kind of dark when you think about it.
Yeah.
An entire... to have millions of voices cried out and were silenced. But so there's that aspect. So he can't go back to his universe anymore.
Yeah, that's a crazy ending.
I know. Then it's just he took it fairly well.
Yeah, it's got a very strong ending. That is another... We'll talk about the other element of the ending in a second, but it is crazy that you would end this. I mean, I think anyone watching this would just assume the status quo is 100% going to be restored at the end of this thing. There's no way this thing ends with this alternate universe still existing, and that is how it ends. And not just they make a choice. They cannot restore it. Unless
like this, the ending, if they continue with it, is if he brings peace to this galaxy, he can actually go back to his own. But even
they could always
it's still
cop out.
It's just wild to kind of put this on the hands of a 14-year-old.
Sure. Yeah.
It's well, sorry, you destroyed your entire universe. Get used to living in this one.
And also, one of the bigger emotional arc of this is that his brother is a Sith, and he's trying to win back his brother. His brother does not come over to the light side at the end.
No, and I don't even know if Sig's character existed in this universe prior to him showing up.
Seemingly not.
He's the only one without a counterpart.
Yeah, that's kind of what is the implication that drove his brother to the dark side, is that he did not have a brother to balance him out. And the other element of this ending is, I guess it's one. I feel like there was another element of the ending that I liked. I guess it's just that him having to accept that, and him living in this universe, and the fact that it's not resolved, and there's... I guess I just also love an ending of a new team of characters. It's kind of similar, I think, to the end of Guardians of the Galaxy, of they get in the ship and they go off their next adventure, but things are different now. I'm a sucker for that kind of ending. I felt like there was a bigger... I guess it's the brother part. There was a more deeper emotional element to the ending beyond just the fact that they couldn't restore the old galaxy, but I'm totally blanking. Maybe I was wrong about that.
Also, he kind of stole his brother's girl in a different universe.
That is true.
One thing that was implied was that his brother, Dev, in his original universe, wanted to leave the planet, and he was going to leave with the main female character, Yessie. It was kind of implied that Sig liked her too, and then in this one where Dev doesn't... He exists, but he's a bad guy. He really said, steal your girl.
That is, yeah, and that I don't really know what a sequel looks like. They do tease one element, which is spoilers, the Landolorian, which is
Ugh.
Lando is the Mandalorian, and him and Grogu are evil. What
did he call Grogu?
Oh, I don't remember. Let's see. I do respect that they had the restraint to not do Grogu in this. Like, it would have been really easy to make this thing very Grogu heavy, as they probably they would like to do with every single Star Wars thing now. But I respect that they save him for a theoretical sequel that may or may not even happen. He just calls him Baby. Isn't that right,
Oh,
Baby?
Yeah.
But generally fun if you like Lego stuff. If you like Star Wars, it's a super breezy watch. It's just full of fun little references and good animation. I would love for them to like. I feel like this is the reason you have a streaming platform, is not to produce super big expensive stuff like the Acolyte. Even though I generally enjoyed the Acolyte, you can just put out random little things like this that wouldn't exist anywhere else otherwise. Like they would randomly do stuff like this on like Cartoon Network and stuff, but the internet feels like a really great platform for little things like this. And I would love to see more of it, both a sequel to this and any other sort of weird, doesn't need to be a movie, but could be a fun little thing ideas. And we can go on to our second topic for today, which is the Wild Robot animated film that we saw with fan and friend of the show, Megan, as well as anyone else we want to shout out. We saw it with a few other friends and had a good conversation about it afterwards. And do you want to give just a general plot synopsis for Wild Robot?
So I have not read the book because it's based off a children's book, but it's apparently in a post-apocalyptic like world,
yes, which is something that you don't really learn until over halfway into the movie, I feel like.
Yeah.
And it's not subtle in the sense of there's a shot of the Golden Gate Bridge underwater. It's very clear something bad has happened.
Yeah.
But there's no like verbal explanation that something happened.
So it starts off with our robot, very Apple-esque, white smooth robot. Something with the shipping plane happens and drops a bunch of robots on an uninhabited island, and only one robot survives, and the whole movie is this robot whose whole design is to serve people and like fix problems, end up helping one very specific goose survive after she murders his family unintentionally.
Well, it's not murder if it's unintentional. She
manslaughter.
Well,
goose
robot
slaughter.
slaughters.
Matricide and infanticide. And then end up kind of like teaching this whole island how to coexist in a way, which very interested how that's going to work in an island full of predators, but I digress. And so ultimately, when faced with the choice of having to go home, or kind of battling through the choice of fixing the problem, wanting to leave, and then staying, and then ultimately deciding to leave because the company, I don't know what it's called, the company will keep coming back to the island and will eventually destroy it, trying to get the robot back, lost assets. So she eventually leaves to keep them safe. I think there's multiple books.
Yeah, it seems like there's 3 from what I can tell. Yeah, so I feel like the main positive takeaway just about everyone had for this is it is very beautifully animated movie. How would you describe the animation style?
I mean, it was unique.
Yeah.
I thought it was a nice change from typical styles that we've been seeing. It seemed very painterly. Like it seemed like it was very heavy in texture, like paintbrush texture. Like a painted children's book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's it's used well. I think it makes everything have this very pleasant look to it. I think this is supposed to be a movie that you like enjoy being in. Like it's kind of a cozy movie for a lot of the time.
And I think the scenes that do it well do it phenomenally.
Yes,
Like
agreed.
the scenes where the geese are taking off. I think that's probably artistically probably one of the best scenes. As they take off to migrate.
Yes, no, that is there's no debate on that. I think that's the visually the best, other than maybe some of the earliest shots of just some really nice shots early on in as the robot acclimates, the kind of the establishing shots of the island. But yeah, just the way the sunlight is used. It's an animated movie that really pays attention to light, which I really appreciate. I think that's ultimately how you make beautiful images in this medium, both live action and animation. Is light is super important. Light / color, which go together really closely, and there's a lot of care put in there, and you cannot say that the animators did not try, which is true for so many Western modern 3D animated movies that there's just kind of quickly, simply put together. This had a great look to it, and I think, unfortunately, what a lot of
The human designs are absolutely lacking. And I know they're not supposed to be in it, but it was like, ugh. Those ones felt kind of like Grubhub.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, that was the area they were kind of willing to kind of take some quarters, cut some corners with, for sure. The other opinion I felt like was mostly universal was that by far the strongest part of the movie narratively was the first 10 minutes or so. And it is a very strong first 10 minutes.
I remember I was definitely kind of sad when I found out there was voice acting in it.
Yes, agreed.
I think it would have been very interesting if this had just been a narrated film.
Interesting.
But in this day and age, you're not going to get away with a movie without dialogue, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's true. At least not in America. Other countries are a little more willing to accept a little artier animated film. Yeah, I don't think it needed to be totally silent. I think just don't make the animals talk.
No, yeah, that's actually I think what I mean. I think I talked about this. I have so much Pedro Pascal fatigue.
Absolutely.
Because here's the thing. It's almost like he's kind of getting into the realm of some of these other famous actors who are showing up in a lot of voice acting roles where they don't perform a character, they're just them. They're being hired on the big name and them specifically as a celebrity and not what they can bring and flesh out a character.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that.
It's kind of one of those things where his character opens his mouth and you're like, oh yeah, that's Pedro Pascal.
No, it's very true. And
which, ironically, I did not feel that as much in Transformers 1.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. What is the difference? I think the writing in Transformers 1 was, I don't know. It's hard to put a name to it.
But even then, because I actually realized we didn't even talk about this. Last time on the episode we talked about Transformers 1, Megatron's voice actor, Brian Tyree Henry, is in Godzilla X Kong.
I thought we did talk about that.
Did we talk about that? I thought we totally missed it. But anyways, like, there was enough going on that I was able to separate, because y'all heard me be very upset when they announced the cast of Scarlett Johansson and Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
I was able, for the most part, really most of the movie to kind of go, oh, okay, this feels like a little bit more than a performance. But for example, you have two very different characters that Brian Tyree Henry plays, Megatron, and a guy who runs a podcast. But so in that, for example, I totally forgot. I was able to separate that.
Sure.
But unfortunately, in The Wild Robot, and you're seeing this with like the Garfield movie that's going to be coming out as well.
It already came out. It came out at the beginning of the summer.
Oh my gosh, are you being for real?
Absolutely, and I do not blame you for not knowing that. That movie came and went, and no one talked about it.
So, anyways, what I was trying to make an example of a movie that came out 5 months ago is that Chris Pratt, who kind of like did okay as Mario, from what I heard, I did not see the Mario movie.
I think you pretty quickly forget that it's Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
You quickly, it's just a okay Mario voice
But when you
actor.
watch, I probably would have gone to see the Garfield movie if it had been anyone other than Chris Pratt,
Sure.
because I love Garfield. You watch the trailer and you just go, oh, that's Chris Pratt. So I feel like, anyway, back to Wild Robot, it's a similar situation where your voice actors are so well known, or they're not performing a character, they're performing themselves, that it's just like, oh yeah, that's this voice actor, not the character I'm seeing on screen. It's unfortunately kind of like when you put Tom Holland in anything. Mm-hmm. He's Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Or randomly putting Harry Styles in movies. He's not the character. He's just Harry Styles in the 1940s on Dunkirk. Which is the worst place to be? A soldier in Dunkirk or in the Eternals movie?
Oh, 100% in the Eternals. Just being associated with it, way worse than being on the island not the island, the beach. Other thoughts about Wild Robot? It's what makes the opening so good. It is just so engaging. Mm-hmm. It's this robot trying to find a person or / creature to serve, and it's funny. Mm-hmm. The robot. Do we get an eventual name for the robot? It's been a week since I saw this movie.
Roz?
Week and a half. Roz. Yeah, I think that's it.
I made a funny joke where she introduced herself as Roz, and I said Al Ghul.
Nice.
Which is
Batman
a Batman joke. Which apparently he's pronounced Ra's al Ghul.
It depends.
Ra's al Ghul.
No, there's not a consistent pronunciation. Depends on the version. But
do you know how stunned I was when I heard Ra's al Ghul once? I was like,
Ra's al Ghul is the
Ra's al
craziest
Ghul,
one to me.
yeah.
I think it's Roz. But
Racial Ghul?
Racist al Ghul.
Oh.
The opening is the robot Roz is trying to is effectively hunting down and just totally assaulting these poor animals. But also it's willing to be dark. It is a shocking opening. That kills like 5 animals on accident, or we witnessed the death of 5 animals. I feel like in the opening 10 minutes,
just in the food chain.
Yeah. Well, Oh yeah. So, okay. So the first one is Roz holds up a crab, and a bird swoops in and grabs it. That crab is presumably dead.
Presumed dead.
Yeah. And then there's a bird. I miss a bird. One of our friends was sitting down right as this happened, so missed it.
The bird kills the butterfly, and the bobcat decapitates the bird.
That's what it was.
And it lands in Roz's head or hand.
One of our friends sat down right as this happened. I look up, and all I see is a bird head. I was like, "What happened in the last 5 seconds?" Also,
unfortunately, we went and saw the movie the same time as an elementary school field trip. Yes. 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. But if you ever find yourself in that unfortunate situation, loudly will shame them into silence.
Live reactions to the Minecraft trailer were priceless, though. It was so funny. But yeah, the opening, it's kind of hard to fully explain. It's just a compelling narrative. It's compelling visually. It's compelling narratively. It's just fun to watch.
Now, I have been seeing a lot of people who saw it and really enjoyed it. And I'm going to be honest, I think if we had gotten a different trailer before Transformers 1, because I've been seeing...
the trailer we saw for this movie was like the whole movie.
I have been seeing clips from entirely different trailers.
Yeah.
Like there's one that's much more cinematic. Yeah. And I think if I had seen that one, I would have been I think my expectations would have been a lot different.
Sure.
Because the trailer that we saw, it was the whole movie, but I swear when I watched it, it made it seem like there was going to be it was going to be a robot uprising film which ironically we had already paid to see.
Yeah, the trailer that we saw really heavily emphasized where Roz came from, which does not end up being as big of an element location-wise.
And so I spent the whole film going, wait, we're still on the island? Like, the trailer we saw made it seem like it was going to be on the island only for a very short time. And that's what kind of made me disappointed. Like, I thought it was going to be a Roz realizes the value of freedom and goes and frees all her robot counterparts. And I thought that was going to be like the second half of the movie. And so when we're like 45 minutes in, we're still on the island. I was like, what are we doing? So that was, I think if we had gotten a different trailer for sure, I probably would have been far more intrigued in it. But I think, unfortunately, just based on the trailer we got, I'd already made my expectations like, oh, okay.
Fair.
Fair.
What didn't like about the movie as much, as it goes on, it just gets more and more basic narratively. The moment the animals started, so what Roz does is like analyzes all the animals and learns how to understand them. And for some reason, they can all understand each other. That's whatever. And then the animals start talking in very standard DreamWorks animated voice roles. And the way that they're animated, the way that they're designed with their expressiveness is very basic DreamWorks. And it just brings the whole movie down a notch. Artistically, it just really loses. It's never bad. It's still, I would say, a cut above your average DreamWorks animated movie. But I think that's still much lower than how it started.
No Kung Fu Panda.
It is definitely no Kung Fu Panda. That's for sure.
Now, Matt Berry was a fun surprise. But unfortunately, it was another one. He's another one of those voice actors where I was like, why is he here?
Yeah, Matt Berry, very famous British comedian for IT Crowd, other BBC.
The most
What We Do in the Shadows.
devious.
He's very famous for not just his voice, but the way he enunciates and emphasizes certain words. I think very misused here. Not misused, underused. It's not. He didn't really give. He's a beaver. Like, it's not a character that could be anyone. I think it had been any other voice actor, it would have been about the same.
There's also Mark Hamill in it.
He's doing a weird bear voice. It really reminds me of the bear from Over the Hedge. Is that the name of that movie? Over the Hedge?
That is the name of the movie, but I don't know the
like,
last time I've ever seen that movie.
I watched it a ton as a kid. And yeah, it's got, we did originally, when we watched the trailer for this movie on the pod back at the beginning of the year, we really talked a lot about the voice cast. I think ultimately the voice cast is fine. You know, we have our boy Bill Nighy. You got Ving Rhames from the Mission Impossible movies. You do have Dee Bradley, our boy Dee Bradley. But no one really stands out. I mean, most of these people are not voice actors. Like, Lupita Nyong'o does okay as the main robot, Roz. Nothing really super special there.
She crunched.
When I walk away from this movie, there's not a performance that was like, wow, that's a memorable like character because of the voice performance whatsoever. And so the movie just kind of becomes a ton about this duck that the robot and the fox are raising together.
A goose.
Right, it's a goose.
Oh, and the whole first half of the movie, the bit is that the fox wants to eat the goose.
Yes. And they raise this goose who's a
Bright Bill.
That's
a warrior. That is a warrior cat name. She named that, and I was like, "That's a warrior cat name."
I'm going to start a list of things we're not allowed to talk about. One is SVU, Law and Order, and the other one is warrior cats.
Well, first of all,
we're not talking about it.
I would like you to direct you to the bookshelf. So, fortunately, I will not be referenced.
I have never realized that's what those are.
Fortunately, I will never. Let me finish.
That entire stack on the right there.
So those are series 1 through 4, which are the only canon ones, if you ask me. I only have one franchise that I'm like, nothing else after this point is canon, and it's Warrior Cats. So it's
what did I just say? It's on the list. We're not talking about it.
Anything before The Last Hope.
Oh, that's very different from Star Wars. You got not The New Hope, The Last Hope.
It's The Last Hope, which is where spoilers for this book that came out probably 10 years ago. If you haven't read it, Sorry, Sucks to Suck, where the main franchise
believe we're
character
talking about
died.
this right now. This
And
is
then
ridiculous.
I was like, I remember I'm reading this and I finished it and I was like, this is a good ending point. And then they wrote 4 more series after it. There's like
But how many books are in a series?
6.
Dang, that's a lot. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. Don't love the voice acting. It becomes very much about teaching this duck how to fly and swim so it can migrate. That is a whole different animated movie, in my opinion. There's a very generic DreamWorks movie just shoved in the middle of this theoretically very interesting narrative. And we're talking about the other narrative, which is Roz teaching all the animals to work together for the good of everyone. Generally, I mean, the theme there, the message there is good, but it doesn't translate very well to the literal nature, the fact that this is about wild animals.
No, and it'd be one thing, I think, if the book was like, or if the movie was like, so this is a winter thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to have to survive later, but here's the thing. You can't just take meat-eating animals.
Yeah, how
and
did
just
that
make them
bear
friends.
survive in that? I guess they were going to hibernate anyways.
Well, yeah,
but
bears eat enough to hibernate through the winter, but it's just kind of it's very odd because I'm like, they're gonna have to eat at some point or another.
yeah. So
Are they gonna apologize for they
gonna
eat someone?
Their friends.
Anyway, off topic. There are 117 Warrior Cat books total.
Rough, and that's the last we'll ever talk about it.
It's probably not the last we'll ever talk about it.
So we do eventually.
You just wait till we watch something with a similar plot point.
We do eventually get past the migration plot, and then it just becomes about them trying to stop the human from taking Roz back, which I cannot tell if this ending is trying to be like your classic vague sci-fi ending, or if it's just straight up a sequel setup. And it's not that it can't be both, but like, is it fully intending to set up a sequel? In which case, fine. But if it's not, the ending makes no sense to me, personally, because I don't think it works. I love science fiction. I love when science fiction doesn't give you the ending you're looking for. The fact that Roz goes back, chooses to go back to the world of the humans, and then Bright Bill goes and finds her. That ending just doesn't work for me whatsoever.
And she's like still got her memory.
Yeah, I just don't understand what was exactly accomplished by that. I guess you could kind of say like everyone else was making sacrifices for the whole island to survive. She felt like they were going to come back no matter what. It just doesn't. What is the implication of the ending? That she just goes back? Does she lead a robot
I thought
uprising?
the implication was that it hadn't happened yet. Like she's going to start an uprising.
But why has she not? Like that's what a weird way to end the movie.
I don't know her 5-year plan.
Yeah. So I would love an R-rated sequel to this.
I bet if you read the books, you'd probably find out.
Well, that's probably not going to happen. Anyways, I do have.
Cameron?
Do you have anything else you want to talk about with this movie?
Not really.
So this movie, obviously, called The Wild Robot, and there are so many other robots in this world. You could make other movies based on other robots, such as The Child Robot. You could have The Child Robot is another spin-off movie about.
What are you talking about?
The Wild Robot, and you can have The Child Robot. You could also have
what child robot was in the film?
No, another robot. You have all the other theoretical robots. You could have
You're
one
not
about
actually referencing something seen in the film.
You could have The Child Robot, which is a robot that thinks it's a child. No. One that wants to maintain its inner child, but its work life is trying to stamp out all the childlike wonder that it has.
I don't know if I want to see that played out in a film when it happens in real life.
Okay, well, I got other pitches. We've got the Smiled Robot, which would just be a remake of the horror film Smile, but with the robots in this world. That's not doing it for you. How about the Mild Robot, which is just about a very mild-mannered, normal robot who learns to cut loose and have some fun every once in a while. We could do the Tiled Robot, which is just a robot, but it has tiles on it. How about the Defiled Robot, which is actually an anti-drug movie. It's a robot that gets hooked on drugs and has to loses his life, loses his robot wife, and has to quit drugs in order to get back everything he actually held dear. We've got the Reviled Robot.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call padding for time.
The Reviled Robot is it's actually just an analogy for people who use Twitter. I hate.
I run our Twitter page.
Well, how does it feel to be reviled? Well, this movie will explore
Cameron, we've got
what it's
2
like.
followers.
Okay, so
That's actually a liar. There's maybe like half of them are real followers, and the other half are the scantily clad bot accounts that follow us and are probably just waiting for some form of interaction in order to proposition us.
I mean, at least you know. Do you think that's better or worse than getting a business proposition from a dog treat company?
I think that's significantly. Hold on, let me count.
Okay, so we've also I got 2 more pitches.
Shoot, one of my coworkers follows us on Twitter.
Reviled. So 2. Let's say the best for last. We have the Decompiled Robot, which is a robot whose memory has been decompiled. He doesn't remember that he's a robot, and he tries to live among the humans, and he teaches the humans that you don't have to be human to be human. Okay, last one. The
Thank God.
Stockpiled Robot. So you have another human civilization that's also stockpiling robots, and it's a Cold War analogy. And eventually, they do end up releasing the robots onto each other, causing an extinction of both civilizations. And it's actually just a prequel to Castle in the Sky.
What if we cause an extinction of this tangent?
Anyways, so look forward to one of those robot movies coming out soon.
There should be a wild robot movie that's actually just about the robot in Castle in the Sky. I would watch that. Silent.
Yeah, it doesn't talk.
No talking. You still got the animals, and I want to know what happened.
Well, thank you guys for listening to our mini reviews today. We move on to a mini version of this. Actually, we should try to get this down in less than 60 seconds. Do you think we can do it?
No, because
think we can actually have
I think
a
I
minute?
have to explain mine.
I have 5
now.
I want to time it.
I have 5 now.
Okay, I'm gonna. We are doing meme minute, but is it longer than a meme minute? Let's see. Starting now.
Who's going first?
You.
Oh. So this is a screenshot. I don't know what website people use to like mark what movies they watch and review in a year.
Letterboxd.
Letterboxd with the letterbox of someone's watched. Godfather, half a star. Whatever. Overrated as hell. Star Wars Rebels, 5 stars. Holy
Very good. Next.
Marketing for Transformers 1. Fine. I'll do it myself. And it's TF Hype Guy, who's someone on Twitter who's just absolutely been carrying the entire marketing for Paramount.
I see. Next.
I just want you to read this one.
Miners.
It looks like a YouTube thumbnail of Darkwing saying miners with a screenshot from
They're like the race.
the race, and
Yeah.
there's like the very typical YouTube red circle. So funny. This is a funnily enough, Harrison Ford meme. Baby boy, baby evil.
Cute.
It's D16 and Metron, very good format. And then me watching my food heat up in the microwave.
So good.
It's the scene from Godzilla X Kong, where Godzilla sees Mothra on top of the Sphinx, but someone just put a sideways microwave over her.
Very good. Is that everything?
Yeah.
You got it done in a minute and 24 seconds.
So part of that is because I have to explain the visual medium.
I was
of
just
this
wanting to
part
see if we
of the
could do
podcast.
it. And obviously, we can't if we have that many memes. I have one meme. I can obviously do this in less than a minute, but it. I'm afraid the deflector shield will be quite operational when your friends arrive. and it is Elon Musk giving this just
Gosh.
very Palpatine look off camera. He's also wearing a black "Make America Great Again" hat.
Oh.
So I just that face matches that quote very well.
I don't like the way he's looking at me.
And that was Meme Minute, but it was only 2 minutes. Not bad. Definitely the shortest Meme Minute we've had. Thank you guys for joining us for this shockingly short episode. Thankfully,
That's what happens when we don't have good content.
I'm glad I realized that the SD card had filled up early on. If not, we could have lost a lot of this just priceless podcast episode.
I couldn't have re-recorded this one.
We maybe would have done a 1 minute total.
We
just
would have
recap.
done a lost. This is our that would have been our lost media.
Yep. As always, thank you to Caleb Jacoby for our intro and outro
Thanks,
music.
Whalable Gobi.
Sure. Who's patting for time now? Props to Rachel for our artwork and Twitter account at Rebels Robots Pod.
Well, I don't feel thanked
Reviled.
for the Twitter.
Reviled.
Thanks to Cameron for running our Facebook where all our boomer fans live.
And Instagram.
Where all our Gen Z fans live.
Of course, thank you to Athena for editing the podcast. Let us know if you saw either Transformers 1 or if you saw Wild Robot, if you've watched.
If you saw it with us in the theater, that doesn't count.
But, feel free to send us a review if you want to.
Review fine, but you don't get to go, I saw the movie if you sat next to me.
And also if you watched Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. And next time... Oh, shoot. We forgot to talk about the Godzilla prequel comic. And Avatar, Last Airbender.
Like is that
next week.
time?
Next week. And if something comes up, I don't know. Of course, those two are assumed for next week.
Watch them just drop Skeleton Crew early.
I don't see that happening, but I would love it. As of right now, no idea. We'll have to talk about it. We'll have to figure out what because we have 2 months to fill. We have the rest of October, all of November, and most of December. That's actually closer to 3 months, like 2.5 months. That seemed... Look, we're not talking about Warrior Cats.
That's what I was about to say.
Transformers Prime.
Oh, yeah, we are talking about that. Well, thank you for agreeing.
I'm not agreeing. That was a question mark at the end.
No, that was not a question mark.
That was a question mark.
Megan, you're a grammatical
Reviled.
friend. That was a statement. That was not a question.
Reviled. You're the reviled robots.
This is Cameron and Rachel signing off saying, did your editor make a noise when you squeeze him? Cameron and Rachel signing off saying a second robot movie has hit the theaters.
Oh my
We're not using that one. We're not using that one.
Oh, I should.
We're not using that one.
That's the 2 weeks in a row you've made a 9/11 joke. You made one last week too.
Sure, a second 9/11 joke.
Oh
has hit
my
the podcast.
gosh.